Before your prospects can download a case study, they have to go to your download page. That's an opportunity for you to give them an excellent experience. In this video, you're going to see 4 companies' best efforts at optimizing the case study download page and come away with a ton of hacks and inspiration for your case study download page. Hi, I'm Mike Russell from ConvertWithCaseStudies.com, the place where marketers go to boost trust and build sales with their customers' success stories. Our first stop is ShapeSecurity.com. As you see in the header, they have a really smart value statement. Shape has deflected over $1 billion in fraud losses for major retailers, financial institutions, airlines, ... Then they have their clients listed by industry. This is probably because the clients aren't willing or can't go on the record to endorse Shape Security just for fear that they're giving away some strategic advantage. I don't think that's a big problem given the industry that Shape Security is in. They have a nice cross-promotion of a free automated vulnerability scan, that big red button that says Get Threat Report. That seems like a really smart place to cross-promote the next step in the sales process, which would be going from the case study to some sort of free engagement. So instead of focusing on the client and the logo, they have the industry and then the top benefit that Shape Security brought for the company and then a description of the threat that the company was facing. And I think that that's a really smart use of that space instead of just describing the customer, because readers at this page, they don't really care about the other customers. They care about the customer's problems that they were facing. So kudos to Shape Security for focusing on the problems that the customer is facing and which presumably Shape Security helped resolve. Next, there's this pseudo headline going on, which is the feature result for each one of the case studies. Just because of the nature of the way that the page is designed, I interpreted this design as being a sidebar separate from the main content. I found it a little separate. And then, let's see, oh yeah, you'll notice that each one of the descriptions of the case studies has at least one hyperlinked keyword to another page, which I thought was an interesting SEO play from this case study download page. Alright, next stop is ThreatMetrix. You'll see in the overview of their page, they're not showing any logos either. That's probably due to the fact that some of their customers, maybe all of their customers, are reluctant to go on the record endorsing ThreatMetrix. So instead of showing some logos and then other case studies without logos, they've just decided not to show any logos whatsoever. And then they're just drawing the title of the case study into this page along with a summary from the case study. It's not original content. In a few of the examples, you can see the description trail off in ellipses, which I feel like is a little weak. It may as well go to the effort of creating an original teaser statement on this page so that even if the visitor doesn't actually go to download the case study in its entirety, they'll at least get the gist of how ThreatMetrix helped each one of the customers. And it would be an extra sentence or two for the case study writer to produce, so it wouldn't be a big ask. I love how they have download and sharing links down below each one of those descriptions, and particularly the sharing links, mailing to Twitter and LinkedIn. That's a really smart way to get your case studies, or at least give the option for your case studies to be shared a little bit more with your visitors' networks. I like how some of the titles of the case studies are benefits driven, which would increase readability. Going back to the sharing links for a moment, it seemed like the tweets and LinkedIn shares were just auto-populated from the descriptions of the case studies, and that in some cases went over the character count for the tweets, which again is just a missed opportunity. You may as well just put a little extra effort into creating content for the tweet that's going to fit in the size of the tweet box. I'm not sure what that's called. Same for the LinkedIn article sharing. It lacks an image, so at the very least show ThreatMetrix's logo instead of just showing a blank screen where it's just text, and then you can add your own little comment about the case study. Moving on to Yubico, I'm not sure quite how to pronounce their name. So they have a really smart page. At the very top, they have a summary of their social proof, so the millions of their product that they have shipped around the country, the number of countries that those products are in use. I really like the little global map showing, I presume, all the countries where they've shipped a product to. And then they also state the range of users that use their product, from independent developers to world-leading enterprises. That's a nice way to show that their product is very accessible. And then I really like this grid layout. So each one of the case studies or customers that are represented here have a logo, client description, there's a little statement about the client or from the client, and then there's a link to the related case study and any press mentions that that case study has gotten in an industry publication. I really like this format. It's very skimmable. But I wonder if there could be filtration either by industry or geography or maybe company size, just because there are so many references here that a visitor their eye is quickly going to glaze over as they scroll down. They're not going to hunt for companies in their industry, but they're probably curious to know if Yubico has helped companies in their industry. So why not provide some sort of on-page filtration? And then, for that matter, what about filtering by user type? Earlier they mentioned from independent developers to global leading enterprises. So maybe filtering according to that story. So there are some case studies about independent developers that the visitor could hone in on, and otherwise they could hone in on world-leading enterprises. Underneath each of the descriptions of the case study, they feature testimonials from the clients or the customers in some cases, and I think that is a great way to at least get the gist of the value that Yubico has brought to the customer into that download page. So even if readers don't actually read the whole case study, just seeing that little endorsement with a name and a title from the company is a really strong element of social proof as well. Now, that said, look at the first example from Facebook. This is really outsized compared to the other companies listed in this row, and so it creates an awkward and I would say messy white space. So I would want to try to maybe list all case studies that have customer endorsements in one row, just to create a greater sense of consistency. Although I understand why Yubico would want to show the most prominent or renowned customer logos first at the top. Now notice that not all of these are actually linked to case studies. For example, Dropbox and Salesforce are linked to pages about how those two services use Yubico's product, but they're still listed in this page. It adds social proof, and I don't think that it's important that Yubico lacks a case study for these two clients. They're still getting some benefit just from showing those clients' logos. And speaking of which, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the screen, you'll see that there are a lot of customer logos that don't have any case study or press mention whatsoever, but they still have permission to list that company's logo on that page. And I think that's a great way to bolster the download page with those customers who haven't given permission or haven't been around long enough, or for whatever reason can't give a case study yet. At least Yubico can benefit from their customers' logos. And finally, we have Okta, which is by far the strongest and probably the best funded of the companies that we're looking at here today. Overall, the page shows lots of smiling people, all of which are linked to customer testimonial videos. Videos are very engaging, easy to consume, so it's a very smart play to collect all of these video customer testimonials and then also display the client's logos as well. Now, if you hover over any of these little boxes, you'll see that the hover state reveals a basic customer journey story, so presumably a case study, although they may as well just say case study instead of customer journey, since that's the common nomenclature. But some of the customer endorsements also feature other forms of, endorsement, like blog posts, presentations, and press releases. And this is a really smart way to organize all of that material as it's related to the customer. So if a visitor comes to the site and they're interested in one of these companies, they can read all of those companies' contributions to Okta's services. It's a really smart way to stretch out the value of the endorsement. And just like with Yubico, Okta also displays customer logos even if they don't have client testimonial or rather a customer journey. They're just down at the bottom. And again, it's just that number of logos. It's great social proof. All right, that was a lot to cover. My favorite takeaways from the pages that we've looked at are to include sharing links on the download page, to aggregate your customers' endorsements, so your blog posts and presentations that they've given in endorsing you, and then of course to show company logos as much as possible, even for customers who haven't actually given you a case study. Next, it would be great to at least summarize the benefit that you brought to the customer or the threats or problems that they faced that you resolved for them. And it would be great to have a benefit or results-driven title in the download page. So even if someone doesn't read the whole case study, they at least get the gist of the benefit that you've brought for your customer. And at the top of the page, why not start with a little benefit statement about one of your key messages that you help your customers with that summarizes all the good that you've done for them in the case studies following. If you found this helpful, please share it with your friends and colleagues. The more people that it helps, the better. And then head on over to convertwithcasestudies.com for my free 5-day course, The Internet's Best Case Study Hacks. I've read hundreds of articles on case study writing, and I've distilled them down to the absolute best for you. I'm Mike Russell from convertwithcasestudies.com. Thanks for watching. You put a ton of work into your Do you think I should redo the intro? What am I saying?